Welcome to Lorna Gross Enchanted Life and Style. I had an idea for a podcast. I wanted to uncover and discover the backstories of some amazing and fascinating people. I wanted to delve into their untold journeys, talk to them a little bit about their triumphs and their challenges, and just for fun, get their perspectives on lifestyle. In my work as an interior designer, I've been so fortunate to meet the most fascinating people who are operating at the very top of their professions. I've become known for my ability to create unique and personalized design. But the secret to my design success actually has to do with my love for peeling back the layers of each individual client and understanding who they are. Yes, their preferences, yes, their style, but also their essence, their values, and even their stories. And then I take all of that and I transform that into the built environment. I've learned to observe what makes each person special, and I'm intent to honor each person's uniqueness in any way that I possibly can. In meeting all these wonderful people, it became apparent to me they just didn't land where they are. They worked hard to get there. There was a lot of perseverance and a lot of strife that occurred along the way. So I wanted to share some of their stories with you. I grew up in New York and Louisiana, and I've been the beneficiary of traveling so many places around the world and meeting so many people from diverse backgrounds and diverse cultures. And what I can tell you is that we have so much more in common than we have differences. I've learned that we can all be enlightened by the human experience. There is something that is super powerful about human connection. So I wanted to share with you some of the stories that I've heard along the way and then also dig deeper. There are moments that occur for each of us along the way that require one or two actions that can change the trajectory of our lives forever. One of those moments happened for me a number of years ago. I was working in corporate America. I had made a decision that I wanted to excel to the heights in marketing in corporate. And because of that, I'd made a plan and I was working hard. I'd actually achieved numerous awards and actually had a wonderful track record in this company. I was up for a promotion. So I prepared and I go into the interview and the hiring manager is sitting in front of me and he's asking me questions and he says to me, "Well, Lorna, this is interesting. You've accomplished all of these things. You have a wonderful track record. You're highly awarded. You've got a great reputation and you have a great work ethic. The only problem is I played golf with Jack, let's say, and I like him." In that moment, I was like, what? What is this? So what you're saying is that I've done all of this work for this company to help this company be successful. I've actually done so much work that I've helped this company earn millions of dollars. And this is what it's come down to, a golf game? So I was distraught. And then I also thought, and you're even not supposed to be telling me this. But I went home that day, I got myself a hot bath, and I began to cry. And once I was done, I said to myself, now what are you going to do about it? What I decided was that I was never going to be in the position to let someone else dictate my destiny in the world. And I determined that I was going to recreate and reimagine my life. I went about the business of understanding what my innate talents were and what was authentic to me. I went back to school for my third degree in interior design, and I opened up my business. And now I have a thriving, successful luxury interior design business and also a wonderful lifestyle brand. That never would have happened if I didn't have that moment and decided to shift. I hope you're enjoying this episode of Lorna Gross Enchanted Life and Style. And if you want to learn a little bit more about my interior design work, my travel experiences, my book, or speaking engagements, you can go to lornagross.com or connect with me on Instagram at Lorna Gross Design. So there are these defining moments for all of us in our lives where we have to decide, are we going to bow and succumb, or are we going to push forward with fortitude, pushing ahead, not even knowing for sure where things are going to end up, but deciding that wherever they end up, it's likely going to be better in the future than it has been in the past. So we forge ahead. And I want to share some of those stories with you about some of these people who have forged ahead, who have somehow or other surmounted the obstacles that face them, share their triumphs and their challenges. So in this podcast, the most wonderful guests join me, and they honor me by being vulnerable. They divulge moments in their lives, from their personal lives as well as professional lives, that have changed things for them. And some of the stories are heartbreaking. Some of the stories are ridiculously hilarious, and some have brought me to tears. My hope is that we can take some of the nuggets that they share and help us to all overcome when times get challenging. So each interview begins with me uncovering each person's journey, the curves and the twists along the way, and what each person decided to do to navigate through. We talk about childhood, how they were when they were younger, where they ended up today, and then everything in between. The second part of each show is a conversation about lifestyle. Each guest shares with me how they create bliss in their own lives. They also talk about the little and big luxuries that they indulge in to help reset when day-to-day life gets a little too difficult. It's a fun conversation. We talk about everything from dreamy travel to delectable ice cream. We also talk about entertaining because I love it. And I find out from each guest what their ideal entertaining scenario is. Somehow or other, we always get around to talking about food, which is a highlight for me. Love it. Each interview wraps up with little notes from each guest on what they recommend we can do to all achieve an enchanted life. Now, let me share a little bit with you about the guests. The first guest is John Carmichael. He is CEO and president of Nestle Canada, and he has me laughing hilariously about some of the stories that he tells. He also drops a little knowledge about what it is to be resilient, and he also advises that we are all to have 5 friends, not 4, not 6, but 5 friends wherever we go. And he also talks about the importance of travel. Then I'm joined by Susan Gravely. She is CEO and founder of Viatré. Viatré is the largest importer of Italian ceramics to America. Their dinnerware is sold in Bloomingdale's and Neiman Marcus and thousands of other outlets around the world. Susan shares with me triumphs and hurdles that she's had as a woman in business globally. We also talk about hospitality and fellowship and community, and how we love gathering people around a beautiful table and wonderful food. Then there's Sharon Jaffe Dan. She's editor-in-chief of Home and Design magazine, and she talks to me about how she creates bliss in her own life and the importance of connecting with nature. She also shares insights with me on what she thinks are the most important and critical elements of great design. Got to hear about that. And then there's A. Scott Bolden. He's an authority in civil rights and a defense attorney. And he's also tapped very often by networks like CNN and MSNBC and Fox and the BBC for his legal expertise. He shares with me the most heartbreaking story from his childhood. And he also shares his philosophies about success and about giving back. And I'm even going to steal an idea from him about creating the most incredible dinner party ever. In this podcast, I was determined to ask questions that these guests had never been asked before. That was fun for me, and I could tell it really surprised them, but it made the whole conversation so enjoyable. All in all, each episode is power-packed with joy and beautiful anecdotes that help to feed the spirit. And if that doesn't happen for you, I don't know what will. I hope this podcast adds levity to your lives, and I hope that the stories within inspire you. And I hope they also lead you to a more enchanted life and style. I want to take a moment to thank Podville Media for embracing my vision for this podcast. I also want to thank my production team, including Hillary Anderson and Autumn Bryant, for their work in pulling all of this together. And of course, my guests who shared all of their wonderful stories with me. And finally, I want to thank you for joining me. If you like this podcast, please subscribe on all of your favorite platforms. And if you love it, give us a 5-star review.